أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Welcome to Collective Conversations with Khalifas. Thank you for joining us. We are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. How are you?
Doing good, man.
Well, that is good. Glad to hear that.
Yes, sir.
Don't know exactly where my guest is. Don't know if he's going to whiff tonight or what.
Gonna do what?
I said if he's gonna swing and miss tonight.
Oh, I got you. It's been one of them days, man.
Yeah, there are days like this. I promise you.
Yeah, I'd hope to be home by now. But
Oh, is that right?
I'm still sitting in the office. About three
Well,
clients coming in.
hopefully that is. I mean, I know you don't want to be there, but you know, one of those things where you can look back on it and say, if it had to happen, I'm glad it happened in this manner.
It could be worse, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I see where you and Khalida get to a meeting of the minds.
I hope so. I mean, in the end, I just simply went ahead and took everything out that,
Yeah.
I mean, basically that, was affiliated with her. So I didn't know anything else to do because what I'd asked her if she simply wanted to go in and rewrite it herself. She could put in because we didn't record that part of the meeting.
Yeah.
So I mean, I couldn't remember exactly what she said. And the AI simply does the best it can. It doesn't get any of our conversations 100% correct.
Right.
So,
What happened?
oh, I was messing around with something and I think I may have, I'm still trying to see if it was possible for me to pull up a video. And
Oh, okay.
I think because I already started the live stream, I think I figured out how to do it. But since I already started the live stream, it's
Hold on,
not
man. I
okay.
got a call coming in. I got to take. Hold on.
All right.
All right, brother.
All right. So yeah, I don't know. It's 11 after, and this guy, I'm pretty sure is he something. He hasn't contacted me. I sent him two different. Tried to call him. I couldn't get a hold of him. I sent him two different messages today with the link and the time and all that good stuff. So I have no idea where he is.
Right. Assalamu alaikum, brother, ma'am. Tariq, how you doing, bro?
Assalamu alaikum.
So I know you're not at home either. So you're probably not on your choice piece of equipment. So I just sent you an email with a YouTube link in case we needed to play something for a few minutes and to cover.
See what happens. Well, I had done some. I had acted as a wali to a
Uh-oh.
sister getting married.
Okay. Is she happy?
No, She married a brother out of Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and I talked to him on the phone a few times. And, you know, so I thought it worked out, man. But I should, I got some marriage contract he sent that they signed together, and it was issued by who was it issued by? I'll tell you in a minute. It was issued by it, it had on there. This document is in accordance with Islamic law based on the school of thought of Ali al-Bayt. Never heard of it, right? And
Okay.
they're part of the Council of Shia Muslim Scholars in North America. I
So
said,
are
what the
the
heck?
couple are they Shia?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I don't know where they got it from, but it refers to some marriage and divorce rights and obligations provided by the Shia, some little booklet, right?
Okay.
And so the idea was they would be, after they got married, that he would begin the process of moving her up that way, right?
Okay. From where?
Fayetteville,
Okay. So you actually know her.
know her.
Okay.
So this was my, friend of Venus, and I know him. This is my second time going through this with her. So the first one didn't work out. This brother was a little more reasonable. So they had some issues, and about 3 weeks ago, he had some brother up there where he was, and I was on the phone, and we were trying to work out work through some issues. And I told him, I said, brother, why would you marry a sister from down here, and then you will maintain her down here until she moved up there? And I thought to myself, you couldn't have afforded that if she lived across town. So they worked through it, and I guess they got back together. And then I get another text from her. It ain't working out. So and so I got him on the phone again. And he said he didn't ask for a divorce. She asked for it, and she said she didn't ask for a divorce. So they went through that process, and it was a learning experience for me because they kept using terms that I'm not familiar with. Uh, I'm familiar with the that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with that, but I'm not familiar with another term they used. But I did look it up, read up on
Okay.
it. And if in the agreement, she had the ability to request a divorce based on certain things happening, whatever. And if she requested a divorce, how did it work out? Okay, if she requests divorce, she's supposed to return half of the dowry or whatever.
Okay.
And if he requests a divorce, she can keep the dowry.
Okay.
But
That I mean
he
that
still
that
had to pay
sounds
the
normal.
he still had to pay the maintenance.
For how long?
Well, until the it becomes finalized. So
Okay.
the way she had put down there, he was supposed to have separate maintenance for her until they moved up there and whatever. So I can see from his point of view why he's not gonna go on record and say he requested it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Say,
So has she? So she's never moved
no, she's still down here.
because he can't afford to move her. Right.
Nope, no,
He can afford to pay X number of dollars per month as maintenance,
he couldn't
but he
afford that
can't
either.
he can't afford the
No.
U-Haul truck.
He can't afford that either.
Okay, so why did he make an agreement to marry her?
I don't know.
I
I ain't
mean,
figured that
are
one
we
yet.
talking Halle Berry, Beyonce here? What are we talking about? So,
I mean, she's
somebody make you go rob a bank to make sure you got the money? I mean, what do we got here?
well, she's independent. But she got two children, and she's attractive,
Okay.
but still, the reality is she ain't dumb.
Right. I mean, if you tell me she's independent, like she can take care of herself or has been taking care of herself with two kids, she sounds like she wants to live a little bit better life. I don't know how old her kids are, but if you do have
They
somebody that can support you a little bit, then it eases the financial strain on you, right? I get that. But do these people, how long do these people even know each other?
not long,
Okay. So she
not
really
long.
didn't know anything about him. He really didn't know anything about her, other
Exactly
than hearsay. Hearsay.
right,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why I asked the question why.
Rubber met road, and there wasn't enough rubber on the tire. Blowout.
That's why I told the brother. I said, "Brother, you couldn't have afforded her if she was across town, but this out of town,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm. Yeah, that's a shame. It should have
it
never
is.
come to that point.
It shouldn't have.
It almost sounds like he should have moved to Fayetteville.
Well, that would have been my thinking, but he couldn't have. I guess the way his income was, the job, he couldn't have done that because ain't like we got these great jobs in Fayetteville. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's a tough situation on both of them. How old are her children?
um, I think her daughter's like 8, and I think 8 will be yeah, and then and she had a newborn. I mean, newborn child. I think um, I mean, I think he's probably about not quite, maybe a little more than a year old.
So she was married less than 2 years ago,
Right.
and the husband that she had, their youngest child is around a year old.
Well, yeah, this was a she's got 3 children, 2 children.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and her husband died. I mean, the
Okay.
first husband died. So
Okay. Okay.
that's what it
Gotcha.
was. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was
Yeah,
interesting.
that's a tough situation.
Yeah,
That's a really tough situation. So I would go back to, I mean, this is her. I mean, I would be very upset if I was her with the person who introduced the two of them together.
I don't know who. I don't know how she met this brother. You know, it's to the point now. If she comes up with this thing where she wants to get married again,
Count you out?
I'm not. I'm not going to respond. Keep me out of it. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a tough situation. The
it is.
distance, the lack of, I mean, you don't really know anything about each other. I could tell you the research statistics on how those relationships pan out, but I think most people, if they are truthful with themselves, they already know failure rate is super high.
Yeah, of course. You're right.
I mean, I think the failure rate's way over 80%.
Right.
And I do actually think that there probably is a solution, but the distance makes the solution very difficult.
Right.
You know, you have to spend time around people. What was it they used to say that you really never knew a person unless you worked with them, traveled with them, or gave them something in trust. I think those were three
Right.
things I heard their mom say,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, and I don't think he was like make one trip with them or something. And I don't mean that a man and woman should go on trips together. That's not what I'm saying. But in some case, I think that they need to be around family, uh, be around his family, being around her family. So different people can get a read on these folks
Mm-hmm.
and what they're about and how they interact with people and how truthful and honest and straightforward they are and all of this thing. They got any personality at all. What do people say about them? What does your sister say about you when she's not right in front of you? What does your brother say about you when he's not standing right beside you? You know,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things. I mean, I've had parents, a woman's father pull me aside and say, "Do you know what you're doing? Do you really know her?"
Now that's bad. He's trying to give you a hint.
He was smiling. He's like, "I don't know if you know what you're getting into, you know?" And, lo and behold, down the road, yeah, he was right. I mean, I never put everything 100% on another person, but yeah, he knew what he was talking about. He knew his daughter. You don't get that kind of insight unless you're in those spaces with those people. You're sitting at the dinner table with them. They're getting to know you, and they're asking questions about you and your family, and all of this kind of stuff, and reading your face, and they already know their child, right? And the same thing on the other side. You know,
Right.
people that already know you, they know your good points, your bad points, all that stuff, and then they're looking at this other person. I think they probably have an idea of whether or not this other person can deal with you, and they're looking and wondering if, because they know you, whether or not you can deal with that person. I mean, I'm going to tell you a quick. This is a quick truth. This happened. I was living in Atlanta. I was working for Cigna, big insurance company, and we got invited out to big house party in Atlanta Country Club, the regional VP's house. Everybody's out there. We're sitting around the pool. This is before I took Shahada. So everybody's having drinks, eating great, and the one of the managers, everybody's trying to get to know each other. I mean, I think I'd been there maybe 3 or 4 months at that time. I'd come from Dallas, transferred there. So one of the managers comes over and he's sitting there and he's talking to us and trying to, making sure we're comfortable and all that stuff. You know, that whole thing about we're the only blacks here kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, he's trying to make sure we're comfortable and all that. And we were having a good time. And he starts talking to my wife about promotions and opportunities and what the road ahead is. He said in 3 years, there's a very good chance that he'll be a group manager making $150,000 a year. And my now ex-wife, then my wife, looked at him and said, 3 years? You got no patience for no 3 years. I need that money now. Oh my goodness. And she's one of those people to this day. I mean, if you're a man who has some type of weakness about you're gonna walk around going, "Yes, dear," a whole lot, right? I mean, weak people, she destroys weak people
Mhm.
because she'll say exactly what's on her mind, and she's very smart. She knows how to cut deep. So, but I mean, I was around her for a year and a half before I ever decided that I could deal with that. You know, Come to find out, I was hard to deal with than she was at that time. So, we ended up splitting the sheets after 8 years. But I would never. I I know you for months, and I understand the whole Wally thing now. I do. I actually have some appreciation for it. I had no appreciation for it when it was first introduced to me. I thought it was a joke. But I do have a little bit better understanding of it and why people would, submit themselves to it. I just think that there needs to be some add-on.
Well, see, you got to understand in the practical application of it in a lot of Muslim countries, they tend not to marry too far from the community.
Right.
So, firstly, you have people that know them. The old saying is the apple don't fall too far, or the nut don't fall too far from the tree
Right.
because they know the tree. In America, no one knows the tree. Even if you meet them and date them for a year, you don't know the tree. So by the time you know them, it's too late. They nuts. Then when you meet the family, you can see where they got it from.
Yeah.
You understand? But in an Islamic society, they marry close. You understand?
Yeah.
They
Sometimes
pick.
too close, like cousins.
Well, Islamically, how much of a cousin is it? What's the separation you got to have?
In Islam, you can marry your first cousin.
Well, okay,
Let me put it this
definitely.
way: in Arab culture, for sure, you can marry your first cousin.
But definitely the second,
Assalamualaikum.
third.
Walaikum
Go ahead,
salam.
but
I
go
think
ahead.
you need to look at this verse in the Quran concerning that marrying cousins and Surah
What verse?
to Azab. Let me get it right quick.
Okay.
Let me just do it. I mean, if you all just keep with the conversation, then I
Sure.
until I
Yeah.
find
See,
it. But I know
I,
Okay,
what
I
yeah,
surah
find
actually,
it
that.
is.
yeah, I actually thought that the Quran sanctioned marrying first cousins.
Well,
Not
I've never
according.
seen
Well,
it.
let me just. I'm gonna wait till I find the verse before I make any more comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I mean, I think I had this discussion with someone maybe a little over a year ago, and they were saying that it could happen. I was thinking that that would be wrong. That the closest you could get is a second cousin, or as people like to say, first cousin once removed. But and this was an imam who swore up and down that, and he showed me a verse in the Quran, led me to a verse in the Quran. Because
Well,
there's a verse in the
and so
Quran
it
that
shouldn't even
says,
say.
open to you to marriage are so and so and so and so and so and so. Or it says the people you can't, I can't remember if it's the people you can't marry or these are the people that you can marry.
Cause well, I might have to find. I know the main word that's being used because I've heard that for the greater part of my life, from brothers saying, you can marry your cousins, and I know culturally speaking, the Arabs done it, and other persons did it for certain, for many different reasons.
Hmm.
So I thought I was coming up on it, calling themselves.
I know it gave the prophet, Salam alaikum, everyone, it gave the prophet permission explicitly that he could marry his cousins.
That's the
And
verse
then,
I'm looking for, my brother.
right. And then in the other verse, it's permitted by omission. It says it doesn't say that it's not included of who's not
I
who you
know how
can't
to
marry.
find.
That's one of the lists that's so I think I know where my brother's going with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
My thought was, and this I it depends on whether you're really listening to somebody who's very conservative or is more liberal interpretation of Quran. So the more liberal interpretation of Quran, basically an imam, a sheikh, whoever these people, scholars, they think they are, will say if the Quran doesn't explicitly uh, preclude it, basically say you can't do it, then use your best judgment.
okay, I'm look right here.
Because then they say that if you make up your own rules against something that Allah has not, said you can't do, then that's innovation.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
uh-huh. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the surah. Um, 30.
$33.50, my brother.
Oh, it's 3350. Thank you. I think I looked all over it. I was rushing here. Because it say, oh, I'm just going to do this English part right because it's pretty translated pretty good. But it said, oh, you who believe, oh, prophet, we have made lawful to you your wives to whom you have paid their dowries and those whom you what you rightfully possess out of the prisoners of war whom Allah has assigned to you, and the daughters of your paternal uncles and aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncles and aunts who migrated with you, and any believing woman who gives her soul to you, to the prophet, if the prophet wished to wed her. And he used this language right here. This is only for you and not for the believers.
okay. So,
Okay.
question.
Now here's the Arabic word he say Khalisa, Khalisa, Khalisatin Nakat, exclusively for you and not for the believers.
Okay. Okay.
Khalisa is
Now,
like
what
like
about
And
you
there
know that means
and
that
what about
finishes.
second cousin
and
or
you're
third
you're
cousin?
saying and you're saying that there's nothing that comes along and abrogates that at all.
Was that to me, brother?
Yeah, it was to anybody
Oh
because I'm
no,
just
I
seeking to
can't
understand.
respond to anything being abrogated because I do know there's a conversation and some uh, going on concerning verses being abrogated. But when you in my studies, if I tie all this again, it wasn't talking about Quranic verses. It was talking about
Okay,
previous scriptures that came before the Quran that Allah bought something better with the Quran.
okay,
Because I do know there are most of the states. I got that document, that paper somewhere on my say it give a how far you can go from dealing with first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, uh,
right.
where you are have permission based on state law, then you can marry them. And so if I'm gonna look for that while the conversation is going on.
And then in Surah Nisa, ayahs 22 through 24, it gives a list of who's prohibited, and cousins is not
Mm-hmm.
among that list. So, like I was saying, it by omission is allowed.
Yeah, that's 22 through what 25 or something.
Yeah, 22
You
through
know, Lisa.
24. Yeah,
Okay,
4, 22 through 24. Yeah, it gives a list, and it's not amongst that list. So I think that's how they justify it.
okay.
Okay, now what then I think one of the questions that should be asked, which of those verses came, those statements from Allah came first? The one in Nisa or the one in Azab?
Right. I guess that is the next question. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great question. So, Surah Anisa, is that a Meccan
both of
surah
them
or
are Medina verses. Nisa in Azab.
okay,
They're both
okay,
was revealed in Medina.
hmm, okay, yeah. I don't I mean
Because
man, that's a tough one.
it is because growing up, my grandmama on my mama's side, my mom's mom, one of my older brothers making it, boy, his first thing coming out of your mouth, boy, that's your cousin. Telling him you can't go no further with this.
Right. So
Yeah.
according to tradition, it's saying that Surah 33 was revealed um before Surah An-Nisa.
Mm.
So the prophet was given his guidelines first, and then the community was given their guidelines later.
According to tradition, that
Okay,
33 was the 90th surah revealed, and then Al-Nisa was the 92nd surah revealed.
okay. Hmm.
So let's get back to the point I was making. In their societies, they know people, they know families, right?
Right.
And that's why they can put people together. They can pick the husbands and wives for them. We live in a society that's too independent, so it talks against that. Follow me? Keep also in mind, back during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, everybody lived in the proximity. Wasn't nobody somebody from California and they migrate here, nobody knows them. You understand?
Right.
They don't have social media, they don't have where to go back and find out who it is. So you can't compare the two societies. So it would it would be to a woman's benefit to learn about the brother.
Right.
To do a background check. To do a credit check. You understand? Because they don't have the benefit of having a community that knows this person or knows this family.
Right.
So just on that, there should be some kind of precaution.
Right. And this is where you get into the of the timing. So if I just met you, like, a brother or sister put us together and said, you should talk to this sister. Yeah, she's a good sister, on and on, all the great stuff, right? And we have a phone call, which is probably what those two individuals had. They had a phone call. And they talked to each other and they exchanged some really pleasant things about each other, right? I'm going to tell you the best about me. You're going to tell me the best about you. And 2 days later, the sisters proposed on the Wali. And as a part of that whole process is, Adam, is what you talked about. They're going to do like a whole background check and a credit check.
Right.
And I don't even do that when I go buy a house. He's going, don't hit me when I walk in the door with a credit check and a background check. I came here to buy a car. I didn't come here to get my credit check. So let's see if I want the car. And if I want the car, I'll jump through your hoops.
Well, this is I'm not saying that's the first thing you do. You hand your brother a form to get a social security number. I'm not saying that. But
I understand. But some people are pushing
point, you better
that.
do it.
Yes, I agree with you. That's what I mean about the timing.
Well,
What's the timing? Right? So I know some sisters that'll say 6 months. If you're not ready after 6 months or 3 months or whatever, if you're not ready, this is done. Game over.
And for me, I would suggest you do it quicker, very quicker than later, because I got confidence. And I know if I get in your ear, I know no matter what people, no matter what nobody say to you, I got you. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of men that think like that. So I would say do it quicker because, once they start talking on the phone and everything, you're in an advantage. I tried to I remember one of my wife's friends was getting ready to get married to her brother. And I told him, I said, do you really know him? I know him. And she made it seem like, I was hating or something. I say, no, I'm not hating. I'm just, if I know something about somebody, it's my job, my duty to at least warn you, and I'm not gonna tell this business, but she found out, a year and a half later or something that, it wasn't, what she expected. And like you say, the clues were there. His sisters, when they made certain comments, you'll see some of the sisters smirk and be like, oh, okay, yeah, right, whatever, roll their eyes. And those his blood sisters, So the clues are there. They're there. But like I say, if you get too far gone, it's not too much anybody can tell you. So in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I hope this don't take us too far away. It's still going to be concerning marriage. I do know here in Mississippi, for a female that's under the age of 21, she has to get parental consent. And I wasn't aware of that until recently because I didn't know they had raised the age limit for females, and they did it for males too. So I had a situation to come about. This young couple last month approached me about officiating a marriage. And again, she's only 21 and she won't be 22 until next year. So that being said, when it comes to us officiating a wedding based on the tradition of that the prophet gave us to do it, what's you all opinion on going through uh, officiating that marriage for that couple, in particular when that female is not 22?
How in the world are you going to get the state to certify their marriage?
Well, let me say this: we do issue. I never officiate a marriage without them both signing this marriage certificate that we have. They get the original copy. We keep it on file, and I make a copy of their ID and keep that on file too.
Do you then, when she turns 22 or when they're both 22, without parental consent, then at that time you turn that over to the state and the state will accept it
No,
even?
I don't turn any of those documents over to the state. However, the state of Mississippi, they do have on the paperwork, was this a civil marriage or a religious marriage? I
Okay.
think that's the
Mhm.
Okay.
language that's on there.
Okay.
And I found that out due to the fact that in 2016, I officiated a marriage for a couple, and they at the time, due to some financial things, they asked me not to require them to go get licensed because I was firm on that, but I pulled back
Mm-hmm.
from doing that. You know, they
Okay.
had a special situation. So about 2 or 3 years later, they bought me the marriage license from the clerk's office for me to sign. And it had
Okay.
on there civil or religious. I said, well, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I did bring this to the attention of someone else, and they did respond to me that they officiate marriages for those for those young couples. I don't
Okay.
think it would be anyone under 18, speaking Islamically and everything. So I know I'm going to reach out and consult with this Muslim sister who's licensed here in Mississippi and ask her opinion. And could I be uh, held legally accountable if I officiate that marriage based on on Al Islam?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's a good question. I think you would be safe, but yeah, if I were you, I would definitely check and make sure. My worry always goes to the couple and financial and legal arrangements around them if anything happens, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's health wise or you know one of them passes away and you have bank accounts, you have a home maybe that they just started buying and things like that. That in an inheritance situation, is the state going to consider them legally married as far as property transfers, or is it going to be a dogfight between two families because the state says that they weren't legally married?
Oh,
If they're going to
now
get inch.
that bring me to another point. I also uh, put in her hand, particularly, not just the most recent one, but to tell her her rights is to draw up a marriage contract, and I have a copy for them to do that. I said you can draw
Okay.
it up in whatever language you all decide to put on there, and I recommend to them go get this notarized, and that's
Yeah.
Okay.
that was yeah. So it's left up to
Okay.
them from there, but I do bring it to both parties' attention of what I recommend what they should be doing. And
Right.
and
Right.
so this last one, the interesting thing is they probably last year accepted the religion. She's Pakistani, he's Honduran,
Mm.
and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But see, neither one of them were Muslims. She was Christian, and I'm like, well, I don't know any Christian Pakistanis. So, but her parents would not give her consent. And so I said, well, sister, the problem is that they probably had already, culturally speaking, had already selected a mate for you. His parents had no problem with it. And I say, so that's probably what's going on your side. I think she came to understand that.
Interesting. Did her parents actually live here, or were they still in Pakistan?
I can't recall if I asked her that question or what, and everything. But the marriage supposed to have taken place on the 15th of this month. However, some things came about, they had to postpone it. And I said, okay, yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting situation because
yeah,
you know there are a lot of people in the United States of America who have a sexual orientation that is as far away from mine as you can get. And, they went through a very long legal battle to be able to marry each other when I always thought that the simpler thing to do would simply to have a civil agreement, right? Because what they're worried about is things like property transfers, being able to be covered by insurance, inheritance rights, all of those things. So why don't you just why don't we just go to court and get a civil agreement that covers all those matters? No, 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 no. We want to be married just like a man and a woman. It seems like Mississippi is going down the road of basically simply saying, okay, we're going to have exemptions from traditional, even though they don't, obviously, I promise you, in Mississippi, they're not thinking about covering gay and lesbian people. But that opens the door that if you can do something in the legal context that is not traditional, then it's discriminatory to not open those same doors to other people who have different beliefs. That's an interesting move on their part. I wonder if they considered all of the ramifications when they decided to do that.
Yeah, because with parents consent in Mississippi, a female can be as young as 15, and a male can be as young as 17 in Mississippi to marry, as long as they got the parental consent. But then they jump to 21.
yeah. I'm
That's a
looking at
big
it
jump.
now.
That's a big jump. So I know
Yeah,
here
that's
in Texas,
huge.
and here in Texas, you got to be 18 to marry without parental consent, but you can be 16 or 17 if you're emancipated, what they call emancipated minor or something. Then you can be 16 or
Mm-hmm.
17.
Mm-hmm.
But even with parental consent, you can't legally get married in Texas if you're under 18.
Hmm. Interesting.
So Adam, a
Yeah.
question for you and Imam Tariq. Y'all have dealt with this with with others for some time. Is it would it be a logical next step based on what we were talking about yesterday that in our community as part of our culture that we clean up this whole courtship thing and put some true guidelines in it, maybe even some timelines in it, that if you're a part of our community, that these are the steps that you follow. Is that just too heavy-handed?
Uh, I would think so. I would think so. And the reason I'm answering that like that is, um, we can't dictate because when you're dealing with NICA and things of that nature, there's so many guidelines and laws that preempt that, you know. And the main thing we can do, and we're not raising these children, the parents are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we're not preparing them for what's coming the way we should be, then it'd be hard to dictate that. And then when somebody accepts this al Islam, you know, it's not like they come from a society that operates like that. And to me, that's the problem is you got so many people that are trying to teach the religion, and and we're not situated to handle that like that way. It ends up being a problem. So that's just the way I see it. That we have to be careful of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not being heavy-handed, but we can't operate on that level with any kind of authority. All we can do is give advice. All the local imams can do, and I don't want to take the authority away from local imams, but all they can do is give advice.
Right.
That's right.
That's their job.
So the funny thing is, okay, so I mean, we have the situation where I guess both parties can actually get a wali. I mean, you can have it's like having two. I can have a lawyer, she can have a lawyer, type of thing to negotiate this whole thing out. And again, I will reiterate that I've come around a little bit on that aspect of it. I'm real independent minded. I don't like people in my business, but okay, I'm coming around on that. You see things from people in our community, and it's not just the MAGA Muslims, Adam, on Facebook, where the sisters are sitting there and basically they're saying if the brother's not this number of centimeters tall or inches tall, and if he doesn't have this, that, or the other kind of thing, you know, he's out. I mean, some of it I think is tongue in cheek. They're messing around, but it appears so. It's just always being said. I mean, that there's this criteria that is there that has an absolutely zero to do with Al Islam. And to me, whether or not a person, male or female, would be, a good mate and all those things, that there doesn't seem to be any kind of an agreement in our community about finding a proper mate and living the Islamic lifestyle. That it's just all over the wall. It's like throwing paint from 50 yards away. So, somebody like myself who's been married, was happily married, then not, and do I actually want to go through the process of having a wife again? And if I do I want it to be my process, which I trust, or do I need to kind of bend to this arbitrary process, which in my case, I've never been married to a Muslim woman, is seemingly very arbitrary and doesn't give me the information, excuse me, allergies are killing me, that I would normally get. Again, unless it's somebody in Dallas for a short period of time. And then that person, I have to tell them that they're going to be living in San Diego. Right. So then there's that kind of thing too. And that kind of a move, just like the North Carolina to Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania to North Carolina, it's a culture change. And I would think it would take really getting to know somebody before you would pick up sticks and move all your stuff halfway across the country.
Yeah.
Or in one person's case, they would be moving all the way across the country. If this particular sister and I ever got together, it would be all the way across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Be coast to coast.
Right.
So I just don't see how that works unless you have spent the time together that I mentioned, that Brother Ishmael mentioned, where you get the feedback from extended family and friends and see this person in different situations and how they react to things, and you know, and we are spread as a community, we're spread out all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the brother that's up there in Pennsylvania. If he's around Philly, if he's burned all the bridges in Philadelphia, he's burned a lot of bridges. So
That's one way to look at it.
yeah, I mean, but that's the
That
way
is,
you have to. That's how you have
yeah.
to look at it. Because I was a witness to a divorce here in Dallas. I was called in. Imam Yahya, when he was here, he called me in to be a witness to a divorce, and I knew the brother and the sister,
Mhm.
and I was at the ceremony when they got married 5 weeks before the divorce. Okay, and
Mhm.
the brother was prominent. Like if I said his name, everybody from Oakland to Miami would know who he is.
Mhm.
But they get in the room, and I'm in there shaking, wondering what am I about to witness here? You know? And she basically said everything he promised me, he failed.
Mm.
And she had moved from Philadelphia to Dallas to marry him on the recommendation of a very prominent imam.
Right.
So it's possible to fail in just a little over a month. That's kind of
Five,
quick. Seem
five,
like.
yeah, real quick, real quick. I mean, this sister had given up a prominent real estate career in Philadelphia. She thought she was coming to another booming place, and that she was going to have a husband that could support her until she got her, got licensed down here and got rolling again. Bam. She didn't waste any time. Yeah, she wasted no time. So, I mean, I think in that particular case, and see, I think, well, no, I don't want to speculate on how they met and all that, because I don't know exactly. That would have been one of those cases where it would have been a really good idea for them to spend him to go to Philadelphia, spend a couple of weeks if he could afford it, being around her family, being in the masjid, meeting other people that knew her, her spending time in Dallas, talking to other sisters and brothers in the masjid, just becoming a part of the community and meeting his family, like we've said. Huh. And I guess a Wally can make that all happen, though. I mean, because it's probably going to be family. Has any of you guys ever been married and divorced before? Anybody
Married,
besides me?
Say
married
that
and what?
again.
Divorced? Any of the rest of you ever been divorced?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Okay. So my ex-wife will will just cold stone slam the door in your face or slam the phone down if you call her and ask her anything about me. And I talk to her every week, long conversations. Talked to her last night. Usually it's about children and stuff like that, but we've always kept a good relationship. We're just not married to each other. She's not going to tell you anything. Zero. And I don't know if your ex-wives are like that, whether you would say that's protective of my ex-husband, that's protective of my children, it's protective of my privacy, whatever the case may be. My ex-wife's just going to say nothing. So you have to go find my brothers. Well, both my brothers are passed. You have to go find my living sisters or cousins if you want family background on me. I'm of that age where not everybody's still running around, bouncing on the trampoline. So you're not going to get, you're gonna have to do some work to get family information. Because my baby sister's not going to talk to you at all. Heck, she hardly talks to me. My two older sisters, yeah, maybe you might get a conversation out of them. My cousins, yeah, they're all good. They think I've hung the moon. But I mean that's not going to be a true reflection of who I am.
All right. How many were around under the Nation of Islam?
Not me.
How about you?
Can you say that again?
How many
Adam?
were Muslims in the Nation of Islam?
I'm gonna have to say no, but I wasn't at the level that you were, because I never went through the requirements to get et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was tutored by someone who was in the Nation of Islam.
Okay. And the reason I ask is this. If someone came to the masjid in Winston-Salem from New York and we had to find out something about them, we would contact the temple in New York for a character reference. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And is this brother a worker? Is he, what kind of, our main concern was, is he a worker? We wanted to know that. And if he didn't pass that, he was SOL.
Did y'all have like traveling cards too? Did y'all have a traveling card?
No, I didn't get all that.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that happening. I'm saying they didn't, but I don't remember that happening. In terms of traveling cards. But we did check up on to see what kind of Muslim this was. And then there were a couple other things we did. Brother come down from wherever, and he come to FOI class. And when brothers from New York come south, I don't know what it is with New York brothers when they come south. I don't know what they think about the South. I guess they think everybody down south is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
So brother come down and talking big John. So we get ready for the FOI class every Saturday. We meet at the temple and go to the FOI class and have call out. And we get ready to go to say we might go sell papers. Then we say, well, we know what kind of brother if he hangs for us and sell papers, we'll know who it is. So we'll pick an area to sell papers in. And it would be a place where out in the country where you had to walk 2 miles between houses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Walk 2 miles between houses. And if he can hang with us, all right, then we'll endure what he claims he is. But it always never fails. We'll be out there soldiering, and it's the summertime too now. And then all of a sudden the brother said, "Well, Brother Captain, I got to take my mother to a doctor's appointment. It's on Saturday now." And then he'll fade away. And then we'll say, "Yeah, we ain't got nothing there."
Mm.
So that's what we do. And that's how we can measure the worth of a person.
Can I
Okay.
make a comment? I just
Oh,
had another recent situation. A brother called me, an immigrant brother, if I should mention that, out of Shreveport, from Shreveport, and he wanted me to officiate a marriage for him, uh, where it would have taken place Saturday. And I'm like, brother, you say you was out of Shreveport? I say, isn't there a masjid in Shreveport? He said, yes. He had met some lady. He had already sent me a message by way of Facebook Messenger saying he's trying to keep from committing haram. He wanted to do halal. So I'm like, brother, why you have to come all the way to the Mississippi Gulf Coast to marry? And he said, well, we want to spend our honeymoon. Now I said, well, you still can get married in Shreveport and then come here and do your honeymoon. And so I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
And what do they call that kind of marriage? They have a name for it.
Well, if I should respond to that based on some recent information that came to me this year, last year, and I think I will officiate a marriage that was done that way. I was ignorant of it at the time, but in hindsight, and looking how it went, how it took place and ended quickly, there's something that they got going on called a halal hit. You know how back in
oh yeah. Yep.
where they would either the female, they say that a lot of the females are arranging this. She'll
Yep.
get her, get her due, her financial due. They'll spend some time together, do the grown folks thing. So, and then they're divorced. And in hindsight, I feel that the marriage that I officiated 2 years ago, one of my longtime good friends here from Mississippi, and he called me and said, well, I need to know will you officiate a marriage because I've been talking to this sister, et cetera, et cetera. I say, fine. And so after they married, it was in September. And before the year was out, she called me and said, man, Tariq, I think it's on the right that I let you know first. That means the brother's not married anymore. He was hurt by it, foremost because she called me and told me. And I told him she don't call me, brother. He said, what? I said, yeah. So another friend of mine was telling me, based on a certain part area in this country where they do that a lot, what they got called a halal hit. Make the arrangement, get the dowry, whatever, spend a little time together, boom, and it's all done with, over with. So I felt that maybe that was done that way too.
Oh, no question. The
Yeah. That's
idea
very.
is here's the concept. The brother's over here working or got a store going or whatever, right? And he don't want to commit the zina. So what he'll do is he'll marry a sister, so like in absentia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's temporary. I forgot what they call it. It was a name for that.
There is a name for it. It's
Muta.
very popular in Iraq.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
muta is the Arabic expression for that temporary muta.
What's that?
Muta.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's MUTA. Muta in English, Muta.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's basically what's going on. And they'll do that, and that covers them in their mind for anything that might happen.
Well, you know, Adam, if I may interrupt you, that brother back that was from called me from Shreveport, I did ask him the question. I said, well, brother, I must ask you this question. Are you previously married? And he said, yes. I say, is she aware of it? He said, no. I said, well, brother, it's only respectful, in my opinion, that you bring this to this sister's attention. I'm not trying to deny anything that Allah has given us permission or the right to do. But you're not respecting her if you take on another wife and don't have a conversation with her. Allah already granted permission. And I say, where is she? He said, oh, she's in Palestine. And I knew right then he just trying to don't, have that for a moment. And I
Yeah.
said, no, I'm not gonna participate in this. And then it's just and then you remember the sister that female that I met some time ago, and I invited her to be a part of the credit union, who I said she currently worked for a bank. We still
Right.
in communication on certain things. And she reached out to me recently too and said, "Ma'am, Tariq, this brother I met at my store, he proposed that we get married. We have gone out to eat occasionally." And I said, well, I don't want to know too much now. And but I feel that nothing happened because, but after I had a conversation with her and text her, I gave her a verse in the Quran. That verse in the Quran, verse chapter back to Nisa, I think ayat 25. They mistranslated and misusing that verse where it says in English, "and those whom you get benefit from." Okay, so based on the grammatical structure there, that language is talking about some permanent, not temporary, but is prevalently, I would say, here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast by some of the members that come to the masjid here, been doing it for a long, long time. And so, but I leave them where they at because it is, they have locked it in their mind. And some of these people identify with the leadership. They'll tell you quick, Imam Muhammad, my Imam. And I showed them some statements from the Imam when he was asked that question. And he responded by saying it's high class prostitution, where somebody broke a woman for you when you traveling and et cetera, et cetera. But the brother Bates said, well, I'm still going to do it. But you say you're a student of Imam Muhammad. And nothing else you can do but leave that's where that's at.
Right.
Because what is it? Did the law say in the Quran? I think you can show them all the signs from the heavens and the earth. They still not gonna believe.
Right.
I've had brothers in times gone by. I was single at that time. Bought me a woman to me, on two different occasions. This happened to me, and they was younger than me. Talking about, this is my uncle. Go take care of it. I was at an office I had at one time. I was doing interior design. And I say, both of you need to leave now. Then another one bought one by my apartment. I'm like, I can't believe it. And I'm like, oh my God, man. Allah forbid and protect me. But I'm like, I would never do that where nobody would know about it. Then they got something over me to use against me for their benefit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. No. Because I know how these Negroes think. And pardon me for saying that
No,
way.
no, you're right. You calling
So
it like now
we're gonna be
you would
challenged.
have been
We're gonna
popular,
be
man.
challenged
You'd
with,
have had people come see you miles around.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, a lot of these
Yeah.
practices,
Yeah.
it was pre-Quran practices. And people going here and there, their contract of marriage just for the moment of them being there. And this stuff has followed one generation after another to present time.
Mm-hmm.
In the time of the prophet, was there a moment when they were basically at war with the Meccans? that
Yeah.
it was sanctioned for people to marry before the men went off to battle. I mean, I mean, I don't know what happened to those relationships afterwards if they happened to survive and come back home. And I don't even know what the benefit. I guess there was some benefit in society for a woman to have been married to, somebody that fought with the prophet, even be say she was, the widow of a martyr, whatever. But that was mentioned in the Quran. Am I correct on that?
I can't recall right now if it is, but
Or is that just hadith? Am I thinking about hadith?
it might be.
Okay.
It may be. But it's some strange practices going on. And I'll be telling folks, I say, here's another thing. I said, you need to ask some questions. And they say, what you mean? I say, ask some serious questions, not only about finances, et cetera, et cetera. You need to ask some questions without getting steamed up and hot, you know, when it comes to intimacy, sexual pleasures and everything, because you don't know. I can, man, there's some stuff people are into that Muslim, like that goes against goes against human nature. That's animal acts and stuff. But it's some foul stuff. Yeah.
But most people, they don't discuss that that type of thing. I mean, that would never come up with the Wali. I would think that the Wali would have a hard time, you know, uh, putting his lips into the proper position to get those words out, right?
Yeah.
So that's unless the two people are talking about it, it's not something that's going to come up.
Well, I have uh, consulted with some people, and I said you need to ask some questions because you do not know what they into and everything. You might be something that you're not into. So,
Oh
so
man,
yeah. And the reason I say that because, like I said, listening to some of the words that come out some brothers' mouth, I'm like, whoa, man. And but that's where they are. That is where they are.
yeah, it's an
But
interesting quandary because on Tuesday nights I've been fairly regular listener to Sister Manira Uma's AM 360 program, all
mm,
about marriage and courtship, right? And she makes a really strong case for an increase in marriages within our community, and it's legit. I mean, given anecdotal evidence, I don't take any surveys or anything, but anecdotal evidence that we have a lot of single men and women in our community.
yeah,
I just again, I'm the pace. It's the pace that gets me. That all the things, some of the things that we brought up just in this conversation tonight that need to be discussed, man, I don't get people in like 60 days or 90 days being really comfortable having a lot of these discussions when they're still working to get to know someone and trying to decide if this is the person they want to have these kind of discussions with.
mm,
There's a real. Did you ever get that survey that she can email to you? It
No, she
covers a
didn't. She
lot.
didn't. She didn't send it to me. But okay, so she's done a survey or questionnaire that goes beyond what is traditionally been asked by
Correct.
Walis.
Yep.
Okay,
It goes into detail. I like it.
okay,
let me make another comment. My last marriage, the sister was not from our community, and she come from two different backgrounds. Her mother was from Ghana, and her father was Lebanese, but she was raised in the Lebanese culture. Okay, So she was telling me that the sheikh taught them, do not ask questions because he might not want to marry you. And that's just that. No. And then she asked
Interesting.
me the only question of seriousness that she asked me was this: do I beat women? And I say I beat them like I'm in a boxing ring, but I was joking and everything. So now I'm like, ooh wee, yeah, that's how a lot of people they are taught certain things. And I say, oh, I say, but that's just how it is. Yeah,
That is wild, man.
American women most definitely are not like that. So
right.
Right.
you can't hope on that at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
brothers, you all pardon me. I need to leave at this point right here, but this has
Okay.
been so very, very informative and inspiring. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of making these comments. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Wa
assalam.
alaikum salam. Yeah, I need to get a hold of Manira's questionnaire and check it out because I don't I don't see.
I'm gonna try to send it to you. I may have it. I may
Okay.
still have it. It's
Okay.
been I was in there years ago. I was in her class, so I have it. I'll send it to you,
Hmm.
inshallah.
Okay. Because I mean, I don't I don't see a whole lot of movement in our community um,
Towards what? I missed it.
toward
I stepped away.
toward a lot of marriages taking place at present time.
Uh, yeah, they are.
Are they? Okay.
I would
Then
say they
I'm
are.
just nobody's sending me an invitation. Then I'm just missing
That might be this. But they are. But keep in mind, we are basically an aged community.
that. Yeah.
You understand? We're basically an aged community. I mean, there's certain massages that might have young people, but we're basically a community of people that probably not going to get married again. You follow me?
Right.
Um, that's one thing. But I do all the time see the invitations of people that are getting married. Young people are getting married, and that's a good thing. That's one thing. So I wouldn't say we don't. We're moving away from it. I doubt that.
No, I don't. I didn't say we were moving away from it. It just seemed like there was a paucity. There were a lot, and
Uh,
maybe we need to do a better job of like the New York Times of publishing marriages. That should be an entire page of the Muslim Journal
I agree.
is marriages in our community.
Uh-huh. I agree. That there should be.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing. I'm gonna get ready to go, but
Okay.
just to bring you up to speed on our discussion Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to introduce a resolution to our state imams council that the council of imams of North Carolina make a statement in regards to that issue.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And if they issue a statement, we'll publicize, we'll send it to the council of imams by Shirley, and we'll issue a statement somehow or another that this is our
Okay.
position.
Okay. Do you have
So won't she?
do you
Excuse me.
have a lot of the I was going to ask you, do you have a lot of the legal documentation regarding that whole event?
No,
Because
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
I have I have a bit of it.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
But
I can give you just the headers, and then you can find what you want on your own.
Okay, that'll work. That'll work.
Yeah.
And then I'm just based on our experience with him when he was serving as the imam's representative. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
That most of the imams in the state were around, except, Imam Khalil has passed on. If the brother in Statesville that passed on, but most of the rest of them are still around. Now, if they say yay, then that's it.
Right.
They want to have Adam Bial to be up on, or make it seem like it's a personal issue between me. No, it's not that. But I was thinking about that stuff. National representative, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was another national representative in our association that didn't go on to become the leader. You know what that was?
Yep.
Yeah,
I listened to that lecture.
Speaking,
I listened to that lecture not too long ago. Right. So I listened to that lecture a few weeks ago. He said, just because you vice president don't mean you're gonna be the president.
Thank you. So using that logic alone don't mean nothing.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna see what I can convince these brothers to do, and see if we can coerce the national brothers to do something and put this thing to bed once and for all.
Once and for all. Which doesn't mean that the brother can't come sit on the floor, right?
Well, I didn't mean the other brother couldn't come sit on the floor.
Exactly. You welcome to come sit on the floor.
But he didn't want to. He tried for a minute, but I can't do this. I can do this.
So was that when he started stumbling around California drunk, where he came up with his bright idea? If we're talking about the same, well, okay. So
no, I'm talking about the Honorable
Louis Farrakhan.
We're talking about the same person. He went on an 18.
Well, I don't know about him being drunk. I missed that part.
Yeah, he went on an 18-month drunk.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, so I can't.
So they're like 76 or something. Then 77, he started making his move. I guess.
Yeah, he got himself together. And because he said he couldn't. His words supposedly, there was no way in the world he was going to accept, because they gave him a position in some masjid in New York. There was a small masjid or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think he tried it for a little while, and it wasn't popping for him.
Yeah, he couldn't do it.
And he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So he had to split. He went to California.
Yeah.
And he was out there bar hopping, playing a little music till he got his head together. What he's done counts as getting your head together. That I got from somebody that was there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I haven't heard that part, but I know he started recruiting. Right. I didn't hear the drug part, but I know he had started recruiting early just to kind of see who,
who was with him.
Who was with him.
Yeah. And he missed some people, because there were some people in Dallas, and Adam, I know you got to go. There were some people in Dallas, and I heard this from some people who were prominent in the community back in 75, 76, 77, that the first thing out of their mouth was the hypocrites have taken over the community.
Mm.
That's when Imam W.D. Muhammad announced, basically, and I think it really didn't happen to 76, 77? officially that he just totally started to distance himself from all the businesses and the properties and all that stuff and people who were leeching off the community. He cut off their lifeline of their money, especially when
Right.
he
And
basically
he,
walked away from the bank
yeah,
and the property in the South and some businesses. And I guess they sold, did they sell the plane?
the plane had been gone, man.
Plane had been gone. Okay.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people that were angry because a lot of people, it was kind of like the mafia. They were getting money from whatever was coming in.
Yeah, what the man did, he removed everybody from their power base.
Mm-hmm.
He sent um, all these big time ministers. He moved them to other cities
Mm-hmm.
away from their power base, and it got to the point where they couldn't take it. Since he brought Chicago, Farrakhan to Chicago,
Okay.
away from New York.
Okay. So that was it
That's
was away from New York, not to New York. He brought him to Chicago.
now Farrakhan was already in New York now. Farrakhan took Malcolm X's place under the
Okay.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Okay. Number 7.
So number 7. That was
Okay.
Farrakhan's.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what he was known for. Then brought him to Chicago. He didn't have that influence there. Until I guess when he finally got it, he decided to go to Mount Miriam and become the leader there. Right. But yeah, it was something else.
All right, Adam, close us out. We will obviously continue a lot of this conversation in the weeks to come.
Okay then. Rabbana athana for dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa akida adhaban. Oh Lord, give us the best benefits in this life and the best benefits of life to come. And save us, O Lord, from the torment of the hellfire. Amen.
I mean,
I mean, thank
I'm
you,
gonna give you a quick.
brothers.
I'm gonna give you a quick call, Eric. Make sure I send you this to the right email.
Okay.